Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Going. Welcome back to Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Friday to have some fun, to talk the pro wrestling news of the past 24 hours, and today have some cocktails. It's Christy Olson. Christy, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hello, Nick. Thank you, and cheers. And we have all earned this week. Amen.
It's true. We got a lot of course, we're going to talk all about the WWE releases here on the show today. That's not a huge surprise, but Christy's right. Yes, she's got her rosé there today, since it is the Friday show, and this is my happy hour show.
Actually, Nick, before you go into your little spiel, I have a very special rosé.
All
today.
right.
This is a badass rosé by the badass CBO of All Elite Wrestling. This is Brandy Rhodes wine.
You're drinking
Brandy
wine? Oh, wow.
Of course I am, Nick. Of course.
Wow.
I'm a sucker for like a gift with purchase, which they were offering earlier this week, and it already came. It's delicious. I love it. The marketing is great. They admit in here that she couldn't taste it because she's pregnant, but that you should tune in to Rhodes on Top to see who did approve of it. We, of course, know by now that was Jade and Velvet.
Wow.
So, yes. And now recommended by Christy Reports as well. Cheers.
Did they send this as a gift to you? Did you get like a care package, or did you have to go hunt this down online? Like, what was this?
No, I saw her Instagram post about it earlier this week where you could get like some free, really cute pink and black socks with your order. And I was sold. That was all it took, Nick. I'm a sucker.
All right. Well, there's a ton of people here right now in this show, so I think they want us to talk about the WWE releases. But that's not, I am not drinking it. I kind of have like a wrestler on my beer. This is Action Hero Hazy IPA from the good folks over here in Chicago at Revolution Brewery. Thank you, Revolution, just for existing. You don't sponsor the show, but you're my favorite brewery in Chicago. Don't tell anybody.
Stop doing what you're doing.
So I'm going to be drinking Action Hero IPA. Christy has Brandy's Rosé. Later on in here in the show, after we talk the news of the day, you're going to get to hear my latest interview, huge one. We were going to wait till Monday to release this, but Raj hit me up and he's like, we are seeing so much traffic on the site today. Let's just get it out there. There's never a better chance. So in the house here today, Ron Killings, a.k.a. WWE Superstar, R-Truth. Me and Truth chop it up for about 20 minutes, Christy, and this is a bucket list for me. I wanted to talk to Ron Killings for a long, long time, and if you don't hear him here on the show today because you're watching us in video form, right after this, 5:30 Eastern, go over to the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. We're going to premiere my interview with Ron Killings. You can check it out there, spread it around. We're going to have highlights on the site in a little bit. I'm stoked. I love this interview. I was thrilled. I got to talk to R-Truth, Christy.
You know, he always comes out with the gems, right? And he's just such a lovable guy. Also, I've been genuinely curious about, like, what is he focused on right now? You know? Is it the wrestling? Is it the music? What are we going to see next from him? He's always got exciting things going on. So I will be watching that one as well.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you know what? All of that is discussed and more. Music, pro wrestling, 24/7 title, Reggie, Carmella, Hit Row Records, all of it there. R-Truth later on. And then at the end of the show for everybody, we're going to dive in the mailbag. We're going to see which of the recently released WWE superstars you think should sign with AEW, and that's going to bring us right into it here today. Christy, it's time for news you can use, news to leave a bruise. This one is bruising, Christy. Another round of WWE releases. This one on the heels of the entire Ring of Honor roster being released last week as well. So we'll start with the back-to-back reports here from Fightful first. Here is the full list of names released. First, the main roster stars: Nia Jax, Karrion Kross, Grand Metalik, Lindsay Dorado, Eva Marie, B-Fab, Brianna Brandy, and Harry Smith. Now, NXT star-wise, they released Scarlett Bordeaux, Oni Lorcan, Frankie Monet, Ember Moon, Trey Baxter, Jessie Kamea, Jeet Rama, Zaida Ramir, and Katrina Cortez. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, which of these releases surprised you the most, Christy? What shocked you here yesterday?
Of course, Karrion Kross and Scarlett shocked me the most just because they have the most potential and because it seems like they weren't given a fair chance on the main roster. Mia Yim is one who I kind of look at as in that same boat. She was given some very questionable creative. She can do pretty much anything and make anything work. So I'm just surprised that they didn't see that. Who else? Oni Lorcan was another surprise, not just because of what he does in the ring and how they've kind of just been able to throw him in at different times over many years and he's delivered, but also because he was always very involved, even a few years ago when I was there, in training. And it was always kind of the thought that he would become a trainer at the PC when there wasn't anything left for him anymore.
Oh, wow.
So I was surprised to hear that they really released him entirely. It's sad all around. It's sad for every single one of them. This is a shock.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Fightful also saying that John Laurinaitis, the talent relations head, he issued a company-wide email yesterday evening noting that the 18 releases, so I guess it's 18, not 15, 18 releases made by the budget cuts. While most NXT wrestlers have a 30-day non-compete clause, some, such as Lorcan, are under 90-day non-competes. The ones under 30-day non-competes, they're going to be able to start work on December 4th. The ones under 90 days are going to be able to get back to work on my birthday, February 2nd, 2022. That's crazy. These dates are assuming, of course, that their releases were effective as of November 4th. PW Insider saying certain training classes got canceled yesterday. And now we'll get into the reasoning behind some of these releases. So Mattman podcast, Andrew Zarian, first to report that the belief within WWE is that possibly 4 of these individuals were released due to not being vaccinated. Now, Fightful saying it could be up to 5, at least 5, that are openly unvaccinated. The Observer saying some of the wrestlers were released due to them refusing to get vaxxed and not big enough stars to get away with that. Pause. How big of a star do you have to be to pull that card in this situation? Because I'll say first, it's Vince's company, and I'm weirdly surprised that I'm on the same page as Vince McMahon when it comes to vaccinations, but here we are, Christy. I think it's a smart idea. You got people that are literally rolling around in next to nothing. One bad egg spoils the bunch. It's so easy to see a breakout happen, ruin so many plans. I totally get it, and it's legal, by the way, to release people because of the vaccination stuff. I don't know how big of how much value do you have to bring that kind of liability against the company? That's crazy to me. I don't know. I don't know where that line is,
But that line existing and you just telling us in the news and acknowledging that it exists is the reason why people cannot be losing their jobs over this, Nick. It's that simple to me.
Well, I agree. I think there shouldn't be a line. I think it should be a hard yes, no. And, truthfully, I'm not sure that it isn't that, right? I have heard from different people that this wave of cuts due to vaccines was set to happen, right? I've even heard there were releases prior to this that were because of the vaccination issue. And I think it just kind of got to a boiling point where I really do think they slammed it down and just said, in or out, that's all this is going to be, because some of these names make no sense at all, including Kross, and Nia Jax. Keith Lee's been very open, pro-vax, him and Mia both, so I don't think it has anything to do with them. But yeah, there are multiple people, I think, that this would explain the reason they're not going to be with the company anymore,
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable to speculate on people's personal health choices, especially since none of these superstars who allegedly got cut over the vaccination status have confirmed that. It is my hope that any one of them will speak out about this and either put the conversation to rest or give us something that we can continue this conversation on. There really even isn't that much of an argument here to me right now because we don't have a lot of details. People don't know what to believe on any side of anything that's going on. And the fact that people are losing their jobs when there's so much that we don't know, to me is very scary.
Well, here's a continuation here on this issue. The Observer saying the word going around, it was 4 to 5 wrestlers were cut due to this vaccine status issue. One source said the number was probably larger than that. And that echoes what I've been hearing. Now, it was noted that the main roster talents cannot tour foreign countries without being vaccinated, which creates potential issues for the company. Again, how are you going to be able to book certain people certain ways, correctly monetize them, protect your team, all of that. Now, the New York Post is saying one of the reasons Nia Jax was released is because she is unvaccinated. They cited a source with knowledge of WWE's operations that told them that. Now, Jax came out today with a statement not denying that WWE had ever asked her about her vaccination status, but just saying in regards to her release, it was never mentioned. And I have heard that these conversations with talents have been going on over this issue for a little while now. And so even though they say it's because of budget cuts and they don't say it's because of the vax thing, I think that you kind of know. And I think that's the very delicate dance Nia was trying to do with her statement here, you know?
Yeah, you know what, Nick? I don't know that it really is that delicate. I'm having a huge epiphany right now about reasons for releases just in general. And, Vince McMahon probably thinks Nia Jax wasn't valuable to him for one certain reason. And someone else who's involved in live travel said, well, she's not valuable to me for this reason. And they all think, well, now she's gone. She wasn't valuable to me and my part of the company for this reason. She thinks it's something else. She was told something else. Other people are told something else. It gets to the point where what even was the reason? We don't know. Was it Vince McMahon? Is it what he thought was the reason? Was it Johnny and Bruce? Is it what they thought was the reason? I mean, when people lost their jobs, that's really all we need to know.
Well, and I just think from the sheer amount of sources, again, from my own sourcing as well, like I'm not saying that it's the only reason that may have led to the releases of people in certain circumstances, but I think that it certainly didn't help the cause, right? If you're in a situation where you're not 100% on board, maybe like if they feel like they can work it out with you, feel out this process, whatever, we'll keep you off TV and make it safe until you can come back, whatever it may be. But like, if you don't have the kind of cachet to sit at home and get paid while they kind of wait out to see if they can bring you back without getting vaccinated to keep it a safe environment, that's not going to help your cause in this situation.
No, and I certainly understand what you're saying as far as that goes. And I know I'm the first person to usually make the case for WWE that everybody signs off on their contracts and agrees to essentially having all their life decisions made for them when they're under contract. And it's very unfortunate and scary to me that includes their health choices. But I guess legally it does.
Well, it's not just their health choices. It's the health, the risk of the health of the people around them, right? Like, it's one thing if you go down with a broken leg, right? It's another thing if you go down with COVID and all the people in your orbit get COVID, and now you're losing crew people and you're losing staff and you're losing wrestlers, and that's an untenable situation to keep your promotion viable and running.
Okay, if you broke your leg because the ring wasn't stable, do we cancel all of wrestling forever? Probably not.
But you can go away and get healed up with your leg and not affect the people around you, right? It's a very different situation here.
Nick, I just want you to remember that that's what you believe. Other people don't necessarily believe that being vaccinated protects them or themselves. People have a lot of different reasons for not being vaccinated. Selfishness isn't necessarily their reason.
Well, if you have a medical reason where you can't get vaccinated, which is the case for some people, that's fine. But that's not the case for everybody in this situation.
First of all, who are you or I to say what's fine? And second of all, this hasn't been around long enough for us to set legal precedent. What is a religious exemption? What is a health exemption? We don't have those things figured out yet. We're not going to for a very long time. So how is it right or appropriate for anyone to lose their jobs when nobody knows what the hell is going on?
Well, but that's
we don't know what's going to save humanity. We don't know what's going to do away with humanity. This is insane.
That's the thing, Christy. There's evidence at this point. Like, I understand a lot of people aren't going to go into the weeds on exactly how vaccines work, right? It's very complicated. But what you can do is look at a map and say, where there are a high dosage of vaccine, we see less hospitalizations and people getting sick. Where you go to places where there's less people getting vaccinated, you see much higher rates of people getting hospitalized and getting sick from COVID-19. Now, that's fact. That's evidence. And that's something.
Nick, those are facts that you believe. Those are facts that you believe. Other people believe other facts. It's very easy to find information and evidence to back up whatever anybody wants to believe. We've learned that in the last 2 years. People have their reasons for believing what they want, making their own personal health choices, and you can sit there and laugh and minimize and diminish and really.
I laugh because I'm uncomfortable because I don't want to get sick. I don't want this variant to, that's the thing. It's like,
well, Nick, you got vaccinated and you believe that vaccination is going to keep you from getting sick. What's the problem? What wrestlers do is incredibly risky every second of every day that they do their jobs. They are risking their lives. We make too much light of that every other time. This is just another risk that they're going to be taking, just like the whole entire world is.
The worry, Christy, to kind of put a button on this, and I brought this up,
and I think that we should.
but like, as I mentioned in the past, like, yes, I am vaccinated. I feel like I am protected from what we know of COVID right now. But if the virus is allowed to flourish and variants come along that my vaccination is no longer protective of, we all have to regress. I have to go get more vaccines. This thing continues on. And that's the bigger worry here. And it's about
And
what
Nick,
you do
if
to
the
prevent from
vaccine
getting
comes
that
out to be
situation.
harmful to people or to not be effective or any of the things that people who are not vaccinated believe, that's an if as well. That is a possibility as well. And I just want to say, I'm totally vaccinated.
Yeah, well, good. That's great. I think it's wonderful you're vaccinated, right? But that's the thing is, like, it's just it's we're in a situation right now where we're all trying to be working together towards the same end, and it's not like there isn't evidence and facts right now, and that's what these decisions are being based off of right now. I mean, we're talking somebody who is decidedly, on Trump's platform here, and Vince McMahon with his wife being a part of it, and even he is saying, for the sake of my business, this is the right thing to do. Now, why they aren't being so outspoken about the fact that this is what they're doing, that's a political quagmire. But on the basis,
Yes, and you can be sure that Vince and Linda and a lot of other people who work there do not agree with this politically. This isn't them saying Europe and other countries have made these rules that we agree with, so we're going to cut you. It's they've made these rules that we can't work under if you're unvaccinated. That's why we cut you. Please don't misconstrue any of this as Vince and Linda or anybody else changing their political beliefs or suddenly becoming leaders that we never knew them to be before.
No, I just think it's interesting that it does seem that this is an issue that the company is taking a much harder stance on. And I mean, again, like, you're talking about people that are rolling around right next to each other. I mean, this seems like a given, of a time to make sure that you're at the absolute most protection. I mean, you got guys like Roman who have pre-existing conditions with cancer and leukemia, and, like, you want to make sure that's a safe environment for people like him, and just really for everybody. So I understand where it's coming from here. I understand why people would be upset about it as well. But, like, this is the way of business at the moment. And if you are unvaccinated and you're unhappy about the fact that opportunities are being taken away from you, I think that's something to think about,
Yeah, give in to the blackmail and go against your beliefs if you want to keep your job. Right, would be another way of phrasing that, I guess. I'm mostly playing devil's advocate, Nick, because you are someone I respect a lot because you're very strong in your beliefs and you're never afraid to say what they are. And I respect that very much. And so I wouldn't sit here and just pretend to nod along with you because that wouldn't be respectful.
It's like, is the earth flat or round? I don't know.
Now I'm a flat earther, Nick?
No, I'm just saying that facts are facts, and the evidence is there. Vince McMahon, in regards to Karrion Kross, the Observer saying that Vince recently made the decision to pull Kross from TV because he hadn't gotten over with the fans since being called up to the main roster. Now, people within WWE have been told they were going to repackage Kross for a third time. And of course, that didn't happen. Now, of course, today somebody went on social media, made a joke about who wants to get the helmet now that Kross is gone. Kross said that the helmet was a piece of shit, right? So he was immediately throwing shade at his old booking, right? And it does seem like, Kross and Scarlett, they just didn't seem like they were happy. And I don't know what will be next for these two, but I think they're better off. I mean, I don't see them going back to Impact. I don't know that they're right for AEW in this moment. I think he's maybe going to find life over in New Japan. I could see that act working there, but that's, again, going to take some time to kind of get up and running. I really don't kind of know what. I mean, maybe they take over GCW, become a big elephant in that environment. I'm not really sure.
Well, wherever they do end up, the fact that everybody in the entire world who pays any attention to pro wrestling knows that Karrion Kross got bad creative is certainly going to work in their favor. This is something that they can really use to, it's not like they're not over with fans, but to be given this thing that everybody hated by WWE that wasn't any remnant of what he did himself on the indies, and just have everybody see that fail and then get cut. You're right. They are in an absolute better position here today than they were yesterday at this time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, there's a lot of talents here that are going to get a lot of sympathy from fans. And I do think with Kross and Scarlett in particular, you're going to hear a lot of stories about these two, good and bad, in the next 72 hours, right? period. And I personally just want to say that I think that these two have a lot to offer the business, and I hope things really do work out for the best for them. But then you look at a Keith Lee, right, where this guy's Teflon, right? There's really not a notch in that guy's armor, or Mia for that matter. And now that the fans like have watched, particularly Keith, like his health's been compromised. His
Really
his gimmick was compromised. You like know he went through that Moxley style, like I hate coming to work every day. What is going on? Type period. And that's the kind of story that wrestling fans really attach themselves to. And so I think a guy like a Keith Lee on the other side of this, man, I hope AEW makes a play for him, because it seems like blatant money on the table with that guy right now at the moment.
Yeah, and of course, he's the one that people are talking about, maybe number 3 next to Karrion and Scarlett, right? Which is just another thing that's going to help these guys. You know, we talked last week about how maybe the indies were going to be suffering from AEW kind of scooping up all the hot indie talent that's been around for the last couple years. But now this is proving to us, hey, there's a whole new batch of people out there that anybody in any town across the world is going to go see. You know what I mean? And talking about Karrion, I think that's a great guess that he might go to Japan. Scarlett can clean up anywhere. Can you imagine what she's charging right now? Whatever it is, people are going to pay it, and they should, and everybody will come out to see her. It'll be worth it. I'm excited. As we keep talking about this, I'm excited for these people.
I have a very strong feeling with Scarlett that as time goes on and more is found out about the last 2 years of her life in this business, she's going to become a very beloved figure. She's had a rough go of it. This business has not been easy to her over the last 2 years. And I'm particularly interested to know what the last 4 months were like. Absolutely.
I know nothing about what you're talking about, but I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, cool. We're right there. So GCW, I talked about how Kross and Scarlett could wind up over there as the big elephant, right? Trey Baxter, formerly Blake Christensen. This was awesome. So he gets released yesterday. He cuts on the phone with Brett Lauderdale at GCW. He has announced for a show 30 days, nearly I think to the day, if not on the day, from his release. Graphic out there. I am back to work, and that's, you know what? That's what you got to do, right? I know.
Strike while the iron is burning hot.
Dude, it's like I know that there are a lot of people, because right now it's like it's so weird after all, because everyone's like, "Oh, I bet you can't wait to talk to all these." It's like I don't. Do you want me to call them right now? They're probably like they have no idea where their futures. You want me to call them? Hey, you want to talk to Wrestling Inc? Your tears?
You know what, Nick? I never have the balls to do that either, because I think I don't want to bother people in that moment. You never know what they're going through. But then I see whoever else got the big first interview, and I'm like, freak! I know they would have talked to me first.
I know. I'm trying to be better. I did reach out to a few people last night. I didn't really anyway. I talked to some people. Everybody's in a very rough place. But with Trey Baxter, Blake Christensen, I'm a big Blake fan. He's done several shows here at Warrior Wrestling. Very, very talented guy. I feel bad for the run he got in NXT with Cora Jade, his girlfriend, right? Like, he gets emasculated and then thrown off TV and fired, and she gets to keep her job. It's pretty rough go.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the first guy to have to deal with that exact situation there, but at least he's in good company.
Moving, so we have a little bit more here in regards to these releases. So the Observer saying that age also likely played a part in the decision to release some of the 18 wrestlers, as the company is well aware that they don't have enough talents in their 20s on TV and are looking at recruiting bigger, younger, and people with more legitimate athletic backgrounds. The report also noted that the new directive on hiring new females is that the recommendations are 25 or younger. It was also said that virtually all of the veteran wrestlers that aren't being used on either NXT or main roster TV right now were discussed for potential releases over the past week. There is also talk that of the talents being signed by WWE beginning in the new year, that they will be signed to a 60-day trial contract to see the rate they are able to improve at, except for top prospects. The idea is that they will not be signed to full-time deals if they don't show improvement. Okay. Well, what sticks out to you first about that, Christy? Because there's like several prongs to this.
Yeah, so nobody's safe, first of all, which I think we've started to realize with Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, of course.
Right.
Already knew that. Nobody is safe. But what was the other thing? Holy crap. There's two. You were right. It was too much. I was already thinking. Oh, the 60 days. That's very interesting because, again, we don't have any precedent here. Are they going to be paying for people? I remember the complex that I lived in, they had some apartments that they owned there. And like the Chinese talent, when they came over and other people who it would take longer to get settled were able to live in these apartments. So is WWE going to provide housing for these people while they pay 2 months rent back home? I mean, that's going to be a real sticky situation. However, I feel like this is a response to what happened with baby Brie, big baby, the little cutesy baby Brie who just got signed and just got released.
BFAB?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. BFAB.
Okay, got it. Wonderful.
I think this is a response to her because it was especially egregious to release her after she had just moved her whole life. Jordan Grace spoke out about this for her friend after she just moved her entire life there. I remember in my situation, I was just about to sign another 1-year contract on a lease at a place that I never would have wanted to live otherwise. So there's a lot of questions there for that. I don't know necessarily that that's going to work out for them either, but at least they're thinking about that. Like that seems a little bit like they got a little bit of a heart there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the idea of having some kind of campus is, if you're going to do this, that's the only way to do this, right? Yeah. Because Jordan Grace went ham on WWE in a tweet about like, it's not messed up that they're releasing people. It's messed up that they tell people to leave where they're living, relocate to another place, invest in rent or a home or whatever, move your entire life, be there only a few months, and then be fired after completely changing your entire life around. If you want to do the 60-day thing, which I think is fine to see if people are going to be somebody you really want to sign, have a campus, right? If you make it through the 60 days, go find yourself an apartment. We're going to sign you a 1-year deal. You can have a 1-year lease on your contract, on your apartment, and we'll move from there. But that's the only way you could do it. If they're bringing people in, hey, go get an apartment. You got 60 days to prove us right, or you're going to be here another 10 months on your own. That's a really trash way of going about this.
It is, Nick, but now that I think about it, I think that might be part of the tryout process. I remember when I was booked for my tryout, I was purposely booked at a hotel very, very far away from the PC and everything else that was going on. I had to rent a car, the whole thing. They are testing you out for the on-the-road life. And I think they think if you can't move there, figure out your housing situation, how are you ever going to be on the road with them if they go back to 300 days a year? How are you going to get to the hotel? Make sure your travel's booked. Make sure you got somewhere to stay. Be there on time. If you can't, handle 60 days in Orlando, right? So I don't necessarily know that is where they're going to go with this, even after I just said how great it was for them to do this.
I see a bunch of wrestlers sleeping in SUVs in the parking lot of the Performance Center for 60 days. Terrified to get an apartment. I mean, we're regressing, right? We're going back to the 1940s when you're going territory to territory in your car, making bacon off the old hot block on the front of your machine there, So, and then the last thing I want to say about this, because we got one more item, or I guess two, before we get to our truth, and then the end of the show. But why do women have to be 25 or younger, but men it's 30 or younger? I still don't understand.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because that does sound really bad. It certainly does. It sounds bad. It sounds ageist, and especially towards women. However, when you look at their roster, and we know that the news has been lately that younger viewers are not finding a lot of superstars that they can relate to, especially when you're younger, you want to turn on the TV and see someone that you can relate with, someone that looks like you, maybe has, a gimmick that you're interested in. And I think the age thing, as far as women go, is they're just looking at their roster going, a lot of our huge women superstars are maybe going to be retiring in the next 10 years, 5 years. And there maybe aren't people that, 15-year-old girls look at as aspirational. There maybe the 15-year-old moms look at them as aspirational, whatever it is. This sounds rude. But you know what I'm saying? People want to see someone they can relate to. And if WWE feels that they have enough relatable women superstars in their 30s, then yeah, let's make sure we've got enough that are in their 20s as well.
Okay, fair. I mean, I was surprised to see how many women they released this cycle, because they haven't really released a whole lot of women in the previous classes, and this one was like a pretty big bloodletting for them. And the Frankie Monet thing, like, I mean, we talk about just kind of like the heartache and the struggle that comes along with this, but like your husband's there. I think he was like on some tour right now when he got the news that she was released. She'd been there just a short period of time. You see this mandate and, like, Frankie is older than 25, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But like, she's not anywhere near end of her run. Her prime is not over. Like, to kind of be taken out and put a bullet in because of like just your age, that's a really bitter pill to swallow, especially when you look at your husband having the time of his life, acting like a 14-year-old in a 40-year-old's body every Monday night on Raw, you know?
Yeah, I think, Nick, as we've discussed this in the last half hour and just all the different things that have come up, prove that it can't be just one thing. And even if that's what, Vince thought it was, or Bruce thought it was, or what she was told it was, or, what the press thinks it is, whatever that is, as far as the age thing goes, there has to be more to it than that. And we have to remember too, not Taya, but there were some superstars who asked for the release, and there may also be some others who just weren't happy there. And I can speak from experience that if you're not happy there, whether you want to stay or not, whether you'll stay for the money or stay for the potential opportunities or not, they don't want you there. So just reminding that there could be a lot of factors, and I think she's someone who could really have a lot of fun going out and proving to everybody that she's nowhere near done yet. Maybe her and Mickey have a grandma match or something and make light of all of this. It's like, it's so ridiculous when somebody can still go like she can.
I would not be surprised. I would bet, kind of knowing because what her and John's relationship are with like Conan and AAA and stuff, I could see her going down to Mexico for a little while and just being the queen of AAA, taking some time. I mean, she'll be treated well down there. She's respected down there. The Reinas de la Rey title. I think that's a good spot for her to figure out what her next move is going to be in the States. I mean, but I say that, but like, if I'm AEW, like Britt Baker, I can't stress this enough. Britt Baker needs dancing partners right now. You got good,
Agreed.
you got women that have niches and audiences and fan bases, but you don't really have people that like are that Roddy Piper to the Hulk Hogan, right? You need somebody that can stand there and go with her. And undoubtedly Frankie Monet or Taya Valkyrie, I guess, now. Yeah. I mean, she'd be the absolute perfect kind of woman to do that and take Britt to the next level right now.
Yeah, and I can agree. I think there's a few more that could do that as well, but she's definitely at the top of the list.
I agree.
Just as we're talking about this, it doesn't seem so sad anymore, Nick, does it? Feels like the world is their oyster. People are already getting jobs. There's so much potential for someone like her. I just want to look at the wine glasses half full.
So lastly here, in release news, well, we have one more release item, but talent release news. Bray Wyatt, the Pied Piper of broken toys, tweets out, "What do we do now? We wait for the right place. We wait for the right time. Then when Rome turns to ashes, groveling in the muck of avarice, I believe in you too." And I feel like there's some kind of hidden message in this.
Positivity. Bray Wyatt is telling them, the world is your oyster. The glass is half full. Let's do this together. I mean, okay. How long, Nick, is it going to be until some rich wrestling fan looks at all these releases and tries to be the next Tony Khan? Whether it fails or goes, there's going to be another promotion that pops up in all of this. And I'm going to be pretty excited for that.
All right. Lastly, here before we get to our truth, it was not just the talent that were affected by the roster cuts yesterday. The front office also had some cuts, but most notably, Christina Salin is out as WWE's chief financial officer. WWE announced that Frank A. Riddick III has been named the new chief financial officer and chief administrative officer. He's going to report directly to Vince. He has served as a member of WWE's board of directors for more than 13 years, previously held the role of interim CFO in 2020 after the departures of former co-presidents Michelle Wilson and George Barrios. Salin, who was on the WWE Q3 2021 earnings call yesterday, joined the company in July 2020, taking over the interim role for Riddick. And I want to believe they had a conversation about this transition before the call, but I guess there is the potential. They sent her out there to defend the company, sell them to investors, and then as soon as they hung up the phone, looked her in the face and said, "You did a great job. Your job is Frank's job now." Frankie does your job.
Or we use that as a thing to go, you didn't do a great job. I mean, how many times have superstars had one last big match out of nowhere when we haven't seen them on TV for how long right before they get released, Emma, and a whole bunch of others, right? I want to say a few things about this, Nick. First of all, there was an aspect of this report as well that noted that there were a lot of people or some people who had quit or were considering quitting under her, which would tell me that the environment that she created wasn't somewhere where people wanted to be. That being said, I know white blonde women, especially powerful ones, sometimes get stereotyped as the mean girl just because they're powerful and people can't handle it and they're threatened. Either way, having WWE on your resume, again, just like the wrestlers, the world is Christina's oyster, and I hope that if nothing else, if she wasn't treating employees the way that we would all want to be treated, that maybe she takes this moment to pause for a second and change her ways.
All right, Christy. Well, I want to thank you for joining me at the top of the show to talk all the news of the day. Thank you to everybody for jumping in the comment section. Yeah, of course. I've always enjoyed talking to you. I'm going to go wrap this up and go watch some good songs and Tom T. Hall on RFD TV and call it a Friday. So I had a great time. Always, Christy, a great conversation. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Sorry I didn't get to more comments on the screen here today. Obviously, some very heavy stuff, and I didn't really kind of want to necessarily focus too hard on any one opinion or another. So I hope you guys.
Did I talk over the mailbag? Are we not doing that?
We're going to do the mailbag. We're going to do the mailbag. Okay. We're going to go a little longer here today just because there was so much to go, but we're not going to go too much longer. But of course, also thank you to Ron Killings, R-Truth. Great conversation. Sincerely means a lot to me that he took the time to chat. He did not need to do that. And I mean, I told him before we recorded, I don't think it's in the interview, but I was like, dude, I remember being like, how old would I have been? So he was in 99. So I would have been 4. I was like, I remember being like 14 years old going to the Houston Summit. And I remember K Quick in the baggy orange cargo pants and watching you in the opening bouts and being like, that guy's really cool. And like, he lit, and like the fact I said that within the first like 30 seconds of connect, he was like, dude, whatever you want, right? And on that note, and the big article we're going to post right after this, the news coming out of this one, and there's a lot of things he said, but the thing that I think is going to play best today is, of course, BFAB is no longer with Hit Row. She was released. But in this interview, R-Truth teases maybe he'll join Hit Row and bring his rap prowess to a group of men who can finally appreciate it, right? And maybe we see R-Truth become part of Hit Row Records. I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, I mean, I like it. I like anything that's going to get him more airtime. And I think everybody would, right? But yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
I will bring up this comment. Alonzo Smith, Nick, way to make R-Truth feel old, LOL. Yeah, look, I'm sorry, okay? I did tell him he looks like he's 25 during the interview. The man is ageless.
Which is true. Yeah.
True. By the way, I finished my first beer. I'm on to my second beer now. This is also.
Oh, yeah. I filled up the glass a couple of times. We're working. We're about here.
Wow. The brandy wine. I'm drinking Anti-Hero now from Revolution Brewery. It's a pretty common beer. You can get this on an airplane.
You get like a combo pack, like a little sampler pack, or what?
It's called a League of Legends variety pack. All of the beers have little characters on them like this. This one's a general with a hop for a head. The other one was like a Indiana Jones with a hop for a head. Wow. And so
manly.
Nothing screams manly. Like, yeah, obviously we're millennials. Yeah, nothing more manly than obviously nothing more manly than comic books. I'm on to beer number deuce. Let's get to the mailbag. At Wink Daily, that's the account to follow. WINC Daily over on Twitter. Today's poll question: which recently released WWE superstar do you most want to see signed with AEW? Is it Keith Lee, Kross and Scarlett, Frankie Monet, or somebody else? 54.5 Keith Lee, 34% Kross Scarlett, only 5.5 for Frankie Monet, and 6% for everybody else. Of everybody that's out there, who do you most want to see in AEW, Christy?
I voted for Karrion and Scarlett, and call me a broken record because it's because of all the couples creative that they could do. I need CJ to come and join Miro. I think there could be an awesome feud there. There's so much with Brandy and Cody that can be done now that she's back too. I'm a sucker for that stuff. The fans have proven that they're going to watch it whether they crap on it or not, and there's a whole lot of potential there. Also, they're just the biggest names out of all this. They're the ones that people are talking about the most. And, AEW was doing great for a few weeks there. They're starting to dip again ratings-wise, and I think they could use another big newsworthy signing.
Well, I'm gonna go with Keith Lee. I think Keith Lee, again, like I said, a lot of positive energy there. There haven't been a lot of properly used big men, I think, in AEW, and I think that because of that, there's a lot of different kind of stories. Maybe you could tell with a Keith Lee that we haven't quite got to see told yet. And at the same time, as much as I talk about how Frankie Monet could be the one to step up to Britt Baker and really kind of help her elevate, I think maybe even I'm sleeping on Mia Yim just because I haven't seen her in so long, right? Because of all the what were they called? Not Revolution. What were they?
Retribution.
Yeah.
How could you forget?
Sorry. All the Retribution stuff and then being off TV for so long. It's been a while. But Mia Yim coming out to confront Britt Baker, I think all the love I think she'd get a huge pop, and certainly kind of, she's kind of like the Eddie Kingston of women, right? I think her and Eddie actually used to be a couple. I regret saying that, but anyway.
No, but that's a good comparison. I get what you mean, and they definitely did used to be a couple. But I see what you mean. Yeah. You are saying someone who was a pretty huge deal and everyone always thought was going to get signed to a major deal and do big things, and then finally did and was able to pull off that. You think Mia could do the same? And I agree.
Yes, exactly. Right. I think she's somebody that just never, you just need that one right chance. And it just was never there for her. Right. And Eddie got that one right chance. And then he had his buddy John there that was like, dude, bro, we're going to run with this, and then they went to town. And so I think I definitely see a lane there for Mia. All right. I'm going to put a button in there. We've ran too long today. Christy, thank you so much again. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. I'll be back on Monday. I guess a bit of because of my new job. Sometimes I have to do 5 interviews for a week to maintain order on the show and the site. That's going to be really difficult for me. I have other people that do interviews on the site too. They're great. Infrequent. I hope they do more. But because of that, I can't guarantee we're going to have a new interview every day on the show. I will do my best to provide that. But some days it's just going to be talking stuff, and that's okay too. So it's okay.
Nick, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. But of course, I love talking to people. I promise you we're going to have big interviews on the horizon. I already have some planned. But just as a scheduling note, Raj and I had that talk, and we both agree with all the stuff I'm doing now, having to pile on occasionally 5 interviews a week, a lot of my time. So just a bit of a scheduling note. I'll be back on Monday. We'll see if we have an interview or not. The Wrestling Inc. Daily is brought to you by WrestlingInc.com. We're on all your socials, and of course, the Wrestling Inc. podcast is just like the Daily, only at night after big shows, including tonight after SmackDown. Tune into that. Christy, what do you want to put over here to wrap up the show today?
Oh, hit me up everywhere at Christy Reports. Always love to chat with you all. Happy Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend. And again, glass half full, good things. Cheers.
Yes, cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend. Pour yourself a beer, a rosé, whatever it may be. I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. I'll talk to you on Monday. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.